Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome back to another Going Old School Retro Discussions. Now today's one is going to be slightly different as I start this one out because there's somebody who is a collective member, not an official guinea pig, but a member of the family that passed away. So we're going to lead in. Yep, our hamster Clyde passed away. And yeah, PJ. And I mean, it's the thing, though. I mean, a lot of people are going to tell you, it's a smaller animal. It doesn't really matter. You know what? I mean, a lot of these same people probably never have cared for anything before in their life. So it's just one of those things. It kind of drives me nuts when some people say that stuff. But you know what? He meant something to the family, so he will be missed. So today's topic is going to make sense once I start it because it kind of relates to Clyde. So there was a lot of wildly popular games that came out in the 80s, and one that was wildly popular was Pac-Man, the video game. Now, it was actually released in Japan on May 21st of 1980, and by October in the United States. Now, it was created by Namco of Japan, and then it was brought to the U.S. under Midway. And that's the title that everybody remembers. Everybody remembers Midway. So, hey, Stieg, what's going on? So, everybody remembers Midway because that's what we've always seen on the arcades when we went to go play them. So, this game became not only a success, but as far as I'm concerned, it became an instant classic. Now, approximately 250 million games of Pac-Man were played in the U.S. each week on 100,000 arcade machines. That's insane. The number of people that love this game so much that they just kept going back, playing it over and over again. It's one of those things. It's like lightning in a bottle. You don't see a whole lot of games and or franchises that actually get that kind of attention, not especially right off the bat. So along with the star power of this game, who was Pac-Man, there were 4 ghost adversaries. There was a red ghost named Blinky, a blue ghost named Inky, a pink one, of course, named Pinky, and then getting back to Clyde, an orange ghost named Clyde. It's just one of those things we like to name our friends or little friends after a lot of 80s, icons. So it was one of those things. It just kind of fit him. He was kind of silly, and he kind of fit into the role, should we say, of the adversarial ghost from Pac-Man. So by 1981, off the back of the success of the Pac-Man, they actually created Miss Pac-Man. And then in that one, Clyde was actually replaced by Sue. Now, they didn't change the color of the ghost. They just changed the name, which, is kind of weird. It's just one of those things. I guess because it was going to be a female protagonist in this game, they wanted to change at least one of the ghosts because all the ghosts at that point, other than Pinky, sounded, I guess, too male. I don't know. So in 1982, the mini games were released, and I had quite a few of these things. They were released by Coleco, and they were these small little mini cabinets, like in this list of cabinets, all the way at the end is actually the cabinet I had. So I had the Pac-Man one, I had the Miss Pac-Man one, we had Donkey Kong, Frogger, and I think it was Galaga. There it is. That's the one I had. They actually have been reproduced by another company, and they don't look exactly the same as the old ones, but I'm sure the graphics are probably a lot better than those ones that came out in 82. And they're decent. And then, of course, you have one-up arcade cabinets, which, if you want to find out more about that, check out 19K Fox. These ones look tremendously well done. I mean, they're amazing looking. I've seen a few of them. I've seen, like, the Star Wars cabinet. I seen the asteroids, and I seen a few other ones. They look amazing. Yeah, they're a little bit shorter than the traditional arcade cabinets that we're used to seeing, but they still look amazing. They're so well put together. So, of course, after Miss Pac-Man, it didn't stop there. They had Pac-Man Plus, Professor Pac-Man, Junior Pac-Man, Pac-Land, Pac-Man World, Pac-Pix, Super Pac-Man, and Baby Pac-Man, just to name a few. And of course, you've seen a lot of these arcades. They were not only just the cabinets. You had the ones that were almost like a tabletop, and then they had the ones that were like bar countertop ones as well. So Pac-Man reached a wide audience, and of course, it wound up being produced for all the various consoles that came out at the time. Sometimes under names that weren't Pac-Man, because I know like Texas Instruments, they like to do something where they wanted to copy the game, but they didn't actually want to pay for the royalties to use the name, so they would make small alterations to it, and then they would change the name of the video game entirely. Now, I forget offhand what it's called. I think it might be called Dot Eater or something stupid like that. But, I mean, basically it was a reversion of the Pac-Man game so they could actually have it on the Texas Instrument system. What's up, LDG? Welcome. So, along with that, they also wound up producing a cartoon as well.
That's me. Oh, I must have those power pellets. Oh, find me the power pellet bonus.
It was one of those silly games that wound up becoming a phenomenon that's been repeated by a few games that actually took some of the hints that Pac-Man did with like eating the pellets. One of the reasons that the Japan creators actually created Pac-Man the way they did is they wanted to create a game that was a little bit less violent than a lot of the other games that were out there at the time. That's why, for the most part, Pac-Man was just eating these little pellets on the board. Of course, you know, he could power up and then he could eat the ghost as well, but they were never dead because they would roll back in, they'd get a fresh suit, and then come back for more. So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you people remember there. What's going on? Nerdporial Lifeform, Luffy is God, and Shellback TJC, what's going on? Stieg says sometimes the simplest games can be the most brilliant. Pac-Man, Tetris. Yes, exactly. I mean, that was one of the things that they did really well back in the day with a lot of these older games. They were very simple in design. They didn't have a lot to them, but they captured everybody's attention and imagination. And it was one of those things you didn't need high pixelated games to be able to be a success. And a lot of these older games have proven it, because even today, there's still people who play those older games. Went for 2 seasons. Yeah, it wasn't really on TV for that long, but I thought it was a fun cartoon. Oh, Curtis YZ, what's going on, Curtis? But besides that, of course, you know, with the success, Saggy Melons, what's going on? That is one sexy piggy. I know. Preach it. Miss Martin uses what's going on, Miss Martin. But with the success of Pac-Man, of course, you've seen other games that wound up taking off in the same vein, like Donkey Kong, for example. Donkey Kong had a short show. He wound up getting similar reboots of his game, Donkey Kong Jr. And then, of course, when it went to the Nintendo 64, there was all kinds of games made for it then, like Donkey Kong World or whatever it was. There were so many different Donkey Kong ones. It was ridiculous, too. But, I mean, it all comes off the back of the success that the Pac-Man series actually had. What's going on, Parrothead? Steek says, I remember Sarkeesian wanting to cancel Miss Pac-Man because she wore a dress. And, you know, this is why we don't pay attention to those people. They're so ridiculous. Yes, I know. Oh, Snow Dub. What is going on, buddy? Where's Jolly? Has anybody seen Jolly? I wonder if Pac-Man had something to do with the disappearance of Jolly. Did Pac-Man just like nibble into him and he became a ghost? We need to go check that pellet forest and see if we can find him. Kel Jalin, what's going on? Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, you know, it's like I put in the intro, you know, sometimes even the smallest members, they can have a lasting effect. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a person or a big animal to mean something to you. So remember the Donkey Kong TV show, Banana Slammer? Yeah. Yeah, and they were fun, though. A lot of those things, they were silly, but they were fun. And, I mean, it led to other franchises that wound up taking the same formulas, like, you know, the pellets that Pac-Man used, like you've seen Sonic with the rings. I mean, they were all plays off of what Pac-Man already did. Christine Tyler. Hello, Christine. Don't get sappy. Yeah, why not? There's nothing wrong with getting sappy. I don't know. Saggy may have this some info later. Uh-oh. Do we know where Jolly is? Have you found him? Is he somewhere in like a trash bin somewhere? Has he finally hit rock bottom? I mean, I always figured that Puff was going to be the one that led him astray. In case you didn't know, this is the wife. She stopped in to see the intro, and now she wants to give me a hard time. Thank you. I appreciate it all the same. So Curtis says, I learned today how they are artificially boosting retro game boosting retro game prices to sell for record-breaking mills. Post the same people that were behind the 80s coin bubble. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of these. The algorithm. Man, I like it. The algorithm showed up. How'd that happen? Holy shit. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of these different companies that are doing it right, though, now. I mean, unfortunately, like years ago, a lot of these companies were doing it so poorly. Like, you look at some of the early, like, Tiger games. You know what? They were fun for what they were, but they were not well done like some of these other ones. Like ColecoVision, when they put their versions of these mini arcade cabinets out there, they were amazing looking. I thought that they were great, especially at the time, considering how low-tech everything was. I mean, it's just one of those games I thought it stood the test of time, and I really do believe that the minute this game came out, it was an instant classic. And it spawned so many sequels, so many other arcade cabinets, so many console series versions of it. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat here. A strange package showed up from Vegas. Will unbox later. Oh no, what's in the box? What's in the box? That's horrible. Not Jolly. Not in the box. We can't have that, Snow Dub. You need to get I think you need to hold El Perro for questioning. I think he had something to do with this. It's just Mado. I would definitely watch out for that guy. He can't be trusted. And when you finally catch El Perro, you just tell him.
Move out of that seat and I'll split your lip.
So anyway, guys, are there any games that you remember from this time besides Donkey Kong and Pac-Man? Are there any other games from that time that really, really resonated with you? Let me know what you think in the chat. Tell me what you thought. Snowdub Live. I'm telling you, I think El Perro has something to do with it, Snow. You can't trust that guy. I'm sure Puff got him all high, and then El Perro threw him in a box and shipped him to Vegas. Final Fantasy 1. Yeah, that was one of those games, Parrothead. I never really played it because, you know, when those games came out, I was playing some video games, but I wasn't quite playing as many video games as I used to. So, I mean, one of the things that I was always playing a lot of is I was playing GTA, especially when San Andreas came out. And that was my go-to game. I spent countless hours playing that game. It was such a good game. And it's still a good game, really, today, by today's standards, for everything that was in that game. It was amazing, I thought. I love that game. I heard they're going to do like a cleanup of it. They're going to re-release it. Popeye, Forbidden Forest, 1942, Last Ninja, plus about 200 more. Steeg, you are like the king of those old school games. He's got all those big ass boxes with all those dungeon games too. Holy crap. Spy Hunter. Yes. Holy shit, LDG. I remember there was a pizza shop right down the street from my parents' house, and me and my friends used to go there all the time, and we would spend countless hours and countless quarters playing Spy Hunter. Parrothead, I didn't get into Final Fantasy 1 until several years after it came out. Yeah, you know, I mean, that is a thing with a lot of these games. Not everybody gets into them right away. They got into them later on. You know, maybe you've seen somebody else playing. Maybe you caught a commercial. I mean, that was one of the things. That's how I got into playing World of Warcraft, I had some friends that I work with that kept pushing this game like crack dealers, and they kept telling me, you got to play this game, you got to play this game. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not really into that kind of stuff. They were like, dude, you don't understand how good this is. And they was like, oh, go watch this this cinematic for the new expansion that was come out, which was the Burning Crusade at the time. So I watched it and I was like blown away by it. I was like, holy shit, that does look really good. And I wound up playing it, and I played it from 2006 all the way up until 2019 when I finally had enough with that whole Blitzchung nonsense. Keely Chow, what's going on? Welcome. My favorite arcade games from that time is Gauntlet and Double Dragon. Yeah, Gauntlet was another one with the two little guys. Duck Hunt. If you had an old Nintendo, you probably played Duck Hunt. Played the shit out of 1942 and Spy Hunter. Yes. Super Mario Brothers. That's another go-to classic. A lot of people love that one. Spy versus Spy, Summer Games, Skater Die. Skater Die. I remember that. Oh, you know what? Another one I remember? Paperboy. I used to love playing Paperboy, where it had the freaking little bike handles on there. That was great. That damn dog. Donkey Kong. I got an old office box full of NES games. Played a lot of Mario. I mean, they had so many of them. I mean, the same thing with Zelda. They had so many reiterations of that same game over the years. I mean, you almost couldn't help but playing it at some point. The old Terminator arcade cabinets. I always suck, so I stopped trying. Instead, watched the screen while I ate pizza. Tommy Rockstar is going to re-release GTA 3 San Andreas. Yeah, I did hear about Vice City and San Andreas. I didn't know they were doing GTA 3 too. Yeah, but it's probably going to be edited for today's sensibilities, which is ridiculous because those games were a product of their time. And once you go tampering with the success of it, you destroy the formula which made those games appealing to everybody. And that's ridiculous. Contra. Yep, there goes another one. Another good one. Dr. Mario, the ghetto version of Tetris. Yes, I figured you would mention something with Tetris. Contra was sick. Yeah. Bubble Bobble, Wonder Boy, Jumpman. Yeah. Ghost and Ghouls. Yeah, Jumpman was the originally in Donkey Kong, that's what Mario was, Jumpman, when he was first released. So I don't really remember Bubble Bobble. I do remember, what was the one? Burger Time, and then there was the one with the beer tapper. I used to like those too. No more hot coffee. Edited GTA, and yeah, what's the point? There is no point. I mean, that's they just don't get it. I mean, that's the reason why we love those games. We love them for what they were, how silly they were. They were perfect the way they were. I mean, if you're going to update the graphics is one thing. The minute you go tampering with the success and the storyline in the game, that's when you ruin it. That's when nobody's going to want it. And then they're going to be sitting there scratching their heads. Well, I don't get it. It's so popular. People still like to play it. They like to download the whole game and play it still. Why won't they buy this? Because we don't want trash. Cubert. Yeah, there was another one of those silly games just hopping around on the blocks. That's another one you could waste tons of quarters. What was the other one? Robotron 64, I think it was called. Was another one of those games, like early games that you spent a lot of money on. Yeah, Dr. Mario. Outrun, California Games, Super Sprint, International Karate. Was an International Karate, there's one with the points, right, Stieg? That's the one that they had in Bloodsport. Because I always forget the name of it. I remember playing the hell out of it, but I never remembered the name of it for some reason. GTA Vice City was so awesome. I remember my bro and I memorizing all the game codes. Yeah, right. And well, you know, a lot of those games I didn't play them with game codes. I like to just play the game and figure it out. I mean, unless it got too ridiculous and I couldn't. Yes, thank you, Stig. I thought so. Yeah, Golden Axe. Yeah, I'd like to play those games, and I like to actually figure out how to beat them through, you know, discovery. There was something about beating the game without help. It just makes it that much more fun. But it's one of those things, you know, I kind of miss the creativity of some of those older games. They were amazing. They were games that were fun. They were games that didn't have a whole lot of message, and they were stupid fun, like stupid things like even like Leisure Suit Larry. It was silly, it was ridiculous, and it was fun for what it was. It didn't have to have any kind of real message. It was just stupid fun. There was a couple other ones that GTA did early on. Oh God, what's the high school one? Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically a kid in a high school, and he was it was called Bully. I mean, that was another one. Yep, and you circle the game stick, got good at it, did it faster, character spun around. Yeah. Well, I'm before the control sticks on like the home consoles. I mean, the only time you had like a control stick like that is if you paid extra money to have one for like, what was it? The NES was the first one that came out, that big giant pad with the 2 buttons and the stick on it. But most of the other ones were those little directional pads, little Nemo. Yeah, Bully. Yeah. I like that one too. It was a pain in the ass to play though. It was one of those games that like there was something about those early GTA games. I mean, not GTA, the Rockstar games rather. They always seemed to crash a lot, and they always seemed to corrupt the data. I mean, I had tons of problems with some of those Take-Two interactive games, and it didn't even have to be GTA or something like that by Rockstar. It could have been the stuff from Take-Two that was the wrestling games, like the 2K. The WWE 2K games. Well, they weren't 2K at the time because that's EA. But yeah, they were so problematic. Like I had one that just crashed and it deleted all the data that I'd probably spent over a month because I was creating WWE characters for other players online that actually they wanted porn actresses for some reason, and they'd seen that I did a few custom characters and they liked what I did, so they were sending me requests to make these characters. And why I did it and I wasted so much time for nothing just creating his characters. I mean, it was kind of fun in its own right, but I lost all that stuff and it pissed me off so much. And those people at Take-Two, they didn't want to hear it. They didn't care. They're like, you ain't getting nothing. The hell I'm not. I'm getting something out of this one way or the other. Streamed a little Nemo playthrough, huh? Awesome. I see there's a few like games, comic, and movies. He plays a lot of the old Castlevania. Wes Moody does as well. I mean, there's quite a few people that play some of those old games. Shit just got hot and stuff. More back, yeah. Battletoads, yeah. Quarter Eater. I mean, that was the thing about a lot of those arcade games, though. They were so much fun. Like Final Fight, the TMNT game that they had, the 4-player one. You could easily spend, if you're not really, not on a big budget, you could easily spend probably like $50 on one of those games. Easy. If you're like getting close to the end and you and all your friends are just dead set to beat it, you could waste a lot of money collectively between you all. Oblivion and New Vegas have a tendency to crash. Yeah, and that's the thing with a lot of these newer games. They crash a lot. The Super NES 30th launch anniversary was today. Really? Gaming HD is a great channel for stuff like this. He did a documentary series, Years in Gaming. 1 episode per year with video games from 1968 to 2018. Amazing stuff. That's awesome. I think there needs to be more people talking about some of the older games like that. I know there's still quite a few, but they may only really talk about one game most of the time. It's really good to be able to like see all the other games, maybe games that you forgot about because it's been so while. I mean, like one of my all-time favorites is I used to love playing Sinistar. It was such a stupid game. It was very much in the vein of like the old Asteroids game, but there was something about it that I just wasted countless quarters playing that one in the arcades down in Asbury Park when the old Palace Amusements used to be open. Area 51. Battletoads before Rare was good. Sakurai 315. What's going on, buddy? Welcome. Oblivion and Fallout are done by Todd Howard and Betstea. Hence the bugs and crashes. Yeah. But like I said, that it seems to be a common occurrence with a lot of these companies now. They just don't seem to take the time and energy that it requires to put the game out properly. I mean, how many games have we seen recently that they get released and they're not even complete, and they've got to patch the game before you can even play it? Could you imagine when early systems came out, like the NES, the Super NES, the Genesis, the like the Atari Jaguar, I guess, if you were unfortunate enough to have that one. When all these earlier systems came out, could you imagine if you bought a game and it wasn't complete and you had to take it somewhere and get your cartridge updated so you could play the game? How ridiculous would that be? But now people have come to expect that, and it's just like, oh yeah, well, it just needs to be updated. It shouldn't be like that. They should give you a complete game like they used to do back in the day. That's the point of you spending your hard-earned money to get these games, so you can get a complete game to enjoy, not sit there and wait for somebody to fix it for you. That's nonsense. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't happen, but it still doesn't, and so many people just put up with it. Oh.
Jesus, it's only the biggest goddamn hole in the world.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, as far as these games are concerned, especially Pac-Man, I think you're already starting to see a resurgence with it, like especially with Arcade 1-Up. I mean, I actually seen my wife mentioned earlier, she said Duck Hunt, and that was one of those games that they actually did a new cabinet of. And they had, or was it another one? No, it was a Trophy Hunter or something like that. But it was like Duck Hunt, but it had like the shotguns and everything on the arcade cabinet. Pretty cool looking stuff. I mean, where were these things when we were younger? Like arcade cabinets like that? Because if you actually wanted an arcade cabinet when you were younger, that was thousands upon thousands of dollars to get one of those things because they were so expensive. Sci-Fi Nation. Updates are known as DLC and they cost money. Yeah, but it's not always just the DLC. I mean, I've had games where they were buggy and they would crash, and they actually had to update the game itself, and it wasn't even just the DLC. It was just an update to the game. I remember when I installed GTA 5, before I could even play the game, there was a huge update before I could play the disc. I had the disc. You figure you have the disc, you put the disc into the damn system, and you should be able to play the game. No, there was like an 8 gigabyte transfer that you had to do to your system before you could even play it. And then once that was done, then they had a patch to go over top of it so you could play the game. Ridiculous. Cyberpunk. Yeah, I heard about all the problems that Cyberpunk happened and what happened with that one too. And I heard that there was a lot of people pissed off because they couldn't just play the game and they had to wait for these stupid updates. It's absurd. It's absurd. One of the first games I spent many quarters on was Rygar. I think one of the first games I spent a ton on quarters, besides Sinistar, oh God, what was it? I'm trying to think now. I mean, you know, there was the typical games like you used to see in like the old ground rounds and stuff like that. You'd see like asteroids and stuff. But there was one, it was called Kung Fu. It was a side scroller. It was basically a guy trying to rescue his girlfriend from a bunch of thugs, and he used Kung Fu. So that was another one I spent countless quarters on. From my understanding, they're still patching Cyberpunk. Yeah, you know, I'm sure they are. And that's the problem with a lot of these companies when they put out a game that's only half completed. I hate games nowadays. You need to sign agreements and have updates in order to play a game. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're talking about, Soul Assassin. It is absolutely ridiculous. You should be able to put your money down like you used to do when you used to buy a console back in the day. You would pay for the game, you would go home, and you would play the game. What was the worst that could happen with some of those older games? You might have to blow on the cartridge because dust got on it. You didn't have to send a cartridge in for an update. You didn't have to call somebody to try to fix it. Oh, we have a guest. Curtis YZ, what's going on, Curtis?
Hey, what's up? Sorry.
Not much. Just chilling, just talking about these old games right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to get into the mindset. I keep feeling like games are just flying out of my brain. Like I can't hold a thought. So
Kung Fu Master. Yes, yep. X-Men arcade games spent a lot of quarters on. Yeah. Oh, Darius Munchausen. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Darius?
Like, is there one game in particular that really did it for you, though?
I play Pac-Man a lot. When it comes to like cabinet games.
Yeah. I know that's taking it back a ways.
Oh, yeah, and see that there was a whole bunch. But I mean, like I try. There was never a lot that I ended up liking, especially when PS1 came out. I was like, oh, I'm never playing a cabinet game again. I just couldn't, it was way ahead of it in a lot of ways, I mean, that's just, a personal preference. I'm not trying to dog on it.
That's a good one, LDG. I've seen better driving mechanics in Frogger than Cyberpunk. Stone Cold Jeremy, what's going on? Stone Cold!
What's up, Stone Cold?
Oh my God. I mean, they like I was saying, we used to go down to, when this was Asbury Park Palace Amusements was still open. They had tons of arcade games in there. So every summer, my parents would go there, and they would give me like a couple of freaking rolls of quarters and just say, "Go, have fun."
I remember I played that Resident Evil one. Couldn't stand it because you can't move. I grew up with more Nintendo than arcade, so to have that ability to choose and to play for free was so much harder for me to get into, like an arcade game. Oh, but then I remember this is a good memory. There was a friend, we went over to his friend's house or whatever. In the garage, they had the arcade game, and that was so cool to me. I'm like, oh, wow, you got one of these things you could play for free. That was really cool.
But that's what I was saying earlier. Those things were so damn expensive.
Yeah.
Holy crap, did they have a price tag attached to them? Mm-hmm. But I mean, now, you look at these ones that One Up is doing. Yeah, like I was saying, they're a little bit smaller. But they look so much like those original arcade cabinets at a fraction of the price. I mean, for the average person, they still might be a little bit pricey.
I definitely wanted one, but it's just too much space for me.
Yeah. Michael Brent asked, have you ever played Fire Emblem, Legend of Zelda, Kid Icarus, Uprisings, Super Smash Brothers, Ultimate, or Kingdom Hearts? I played Legend of Zelda. And I think I played a little bit of Kid Icarus.
I gotta look that one up. Kid Icarus. That sounds
Super Smash Brothers. No, I didn't really play that one. And Kingdom Hearts wasn't something I played either. So, yeah, I mean, my thing was always playing those GTA games and playing like the old wrestling games because I used to have like WWE No Mercy, WWE 2000, like the old ones for the Nintendo 64. Oh God, what was the other one? The Havoc for WCW. Like those were my jam back in the day. And then of course when they started releasing the newer ones on the Xbox 360, I mean I picked up a bunch of them until they didn't work right anymore, especially when there was that transition when it went from Take-Two Interactive and it went to, oh God, who did it go to?
DMA or something with.
Yeah.
You're talking about Grand Theft Auto?
No, the WWE games.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I remember that though vaguely. There was a couple of. I played Smackdown. That one was so fun.
What, Raw versus SmackDown one or just the SmackDown one?
It was WWF Smackdown, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Was that one? I think.
Oh yeah, that was right? That was a PlayStation only, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe. But that one was really fun. I remember I played some other one, and it just did not compare. Couldn't do it. Graphics were weaker. You had way less controllability. It just was not as fun to me. I was always like that, where it's like, if I had something that I liked way more, I just wouldn't even touch it. It's like, no, that's nothing compared to this one. That's how I always was.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about some of those old games. You actually find yourself going back to them. I mean, I had that same thing when I was playing GTA, Liberty City Stories and all that. They were right. They were decent games. Don't get me wrong. They were good games. They were fun for what they were. But once you got through the story,
you're right, sometimes you'd go back and realize, this thing had some things that I didn't appreciate.
Exactly. But I mean, that was the reason why I would always go back to San Andreas, because there was just so many other things to do. Outside the storyline, a lot more than some of these later games.
That's the only game I never finished because for one, mine broke. Like you were saying, so many issues. I remember that too. My PlayStation 2 broke, then my San Andreas broke, so I had to buy another one. And then I too many issues at that point. I think I gave up at some point because I just couldn't keep playing. Just broke every time, and I'd have to get a new thing. And I eventually, I think I lost the game. Is why I stopped. Really, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna buy another one. I can't find it, but I'm not going to buy another one,
I actually did that with a few of my 360s. Well, hold on, let me see what they're saying. Parrot Head said arcade cabinets are mostly empty space. Yeah, a lot of them are. A lot of them are. And then Michael Brent says Kid Icarus, Mega Man, Metroid, and Super Mario are my favorite games. Chaos Hoy. Oh, what's going on, buddy? How you
What
doing?
the heck? I just stumbled upon this Ninja Turtles NES. I don't know if this is real, if this is a real thing they had, but it looks
There was an old NES game with the turtles on it, and
Yeah.
I seem to remember it like the the graphics on it were pretty horrible, and they
the
had
game?
this and
was
they
fun,
had this loop of oh god, it was a Beatles song.
Oh, really? I played one of those Ninja
Oh god, what the hell was that?
Turtle ones. I loved it.
Oh man, I tell you, we had so much fun with the arcade one though. Like that was so fun to play. Holy crap! And the graphics at the time when those type games came out, it was amazing.
Huh, the arcade one?
Yeah. Oh, that was so much fun. I mean, it was just like some of the other ones, like Final Fight and God, what was the there was Streets of Rage. It was very much the same. And they also did the X-Men
vibrant graphics too.
Yes.
You know, when you wouldn't see that back then. Normally.
Nah, I mean that's when they were really starting to take off though, because like some of the early ones like Asteroids, Space Invaders, you know, they were very, very simple games. Centipede, like yeah, they didn't have a whole lot to them.
No, what's cool about Asteroids is you get again that controllability. You feel like there's a possible way that you can keep playing, you know.
Yep.
That's kind of the thing about Invaders. It was always so hard for me, and I never felt that. Like I can't keep for a younger audience. For me at that time, I didn't have the capacity to play it long enough to enjoy it. You know.
Well, I mean, that was one of the things that like I said, I used to love when I used to go out to Asbury Park because I had all the time in the world. My parents would go off and they'd be playing like the coin slot poker games and stuff like that. So they'd be there for hours. So yeah, I'd get a couple rolls of quarters and I would just have a blast. So I'd be able to play some of those games to, you know, if not to completion, pretty close to it. But Wake Down, what's going on? Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I never even got close back then.
No.
It took a long time, kind of, you know, to cognitively develop all those skills and be like, wow, I can like beat any game I play now. But, you know.
I mean, you know, I mean, well, my dad's gone anyway, so it's not like he can get upset about it. But when I used to go to school, I would take off early when I was going to high school, and I would take. I don't know why he did it. It must be an old people thing, but he used to like to hide his quarters for the laundromat because he used to still go to the laundromat back then. He would put him in the damn refrigerator. And he didn't think that I would figure out they were there. So I would be skimming quarters off of his stack. And I'd be taking it with me to go hit the arcades on the way to school every morning. He finally figured it out, though, because he went and he talked to the deli across the street, the one of the place I used to stop. And he's like, yeah, your boy was in here early this morning spending all kinds of quarters on the arcade cabinet.
Yeah, he's hiding them from you.
All right, be well, Parrot. Thank you for coming.
My dad did that with lemon heads. I could never find where he put them. And then they're in the cabinet. Go ahead and look in there. I'd go in there. He put them right above it was like a walk-in cabinet, just like a little square, but it was a little big enough ledge above the door.
Like a pantry closet.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And it was a big enough ledge above on the frame of the door. He'd stick it right there. And so, it was like I just remember being really small. Maybe I'm wrong because I was small, but I just remember just never being able. They finally showed me. I was like shocked. I was like, wow, it was just under my nose the whole time. Wow. I always thought, you know, my dad was like a genius. Ever since then.
Steek says Ghostbusters on Commodore 64 let you play Space Invaders while waiting for Ghostbusters to load. I think it was called Invade a Load. Hey, Tim Possible, what's going on, man? Thank you for coming. And Jedi Bill, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, Jedi Bill? Oh, man. There was just so many games, though. Like, you talk about all the fun that you could have at the arcades. Like, I think a lot of kids miss out on that today because they don't really have the arcades like they used to. I mean, yeah, they still...
I mean, even in my day, they were still kind of active. You know,
Well, they had like the Chuck E. Cheese and a few other places, like maybe the malls still had like the arcades, but a lot of places started getting rid of them. It's just a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, there was, I mean, you go to the movie theaters, there's always kids just hanging around and playing those old video games in there, you know? That's where I mostly got my game time in, because, you know, waiting for the movie to start. Hey, Dad, can I get a couple quarters, play, you know, a couple games?
Yep. Oh, well, you know, I remember the early days when they had the arcades in the malls, and that's when they still allowed smoking in the malls. So some of the machines would actually have ashtrays attached to them.
Yeah. Wow.
Brutal Mortem, what's going on, man? God damn, I love that man. Guy's hilarious. Once found huge bags, Libyan coins in a river. They worked in games and vending machines. We played games and had snacks for months. I mean, another thing is like like some of those early pinball games when they were just starting to digitize them, and they actually had like screens that would play out like scenes or something like that. Like that stuff was actually really cool too.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of like brought pinball games back, because pinball games were dying out when our arcades first came out, and then they started reinventing them with all the, you know, digital effects.
Yeah.
I mean, they even made their way on the consoles in a way too. So
I remember
they had those different pinball games. Yeah.
All the kinds of pinball games. I remember looking at them and just being like, wait, what's different? It looks so cool. It's just pinball. But I try them every now and then. I played the PC pinball game more. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. Oh man, holy shit! I had a few of them. I did really enjoy some of the ones I seen later on when back when I had my Xbox Live, and they would have all those the pinball games. So you would get the basic FX pinball, and then they would have all these add-ons for it. They were basically like skins for the basic pinball game. So yeah, you would.
I remember
like
discovering
X-Men
a little bit of that finally one day. I'm like, oh wow, this is cool.
Yeah,
you change it up.
Yeah, they were enjoyable. I mean, you know, it doesn't really take the place of actually sitting there at a pinball cabinet, though. You know,
no. And actually, you're right. I remember discovering that playing a real pinball, and I must have just been older, you know. I was like, wow, this is sick. You know, like you could feel the gravity of the ball and everything. And yeah, when you get a good game of pinball, it's pretty fun.
And it always turns violent, doesn't it? Start shaking the machine.
Yeah, it's like I gotta keep going. I can get higher than that. Come on, you know.
I can't even tell you how many times I tilted the machine.
Really?
Yeah, got all excited playing it, like got a really high score, start shaking the shit out of the machine.
Yeah.
Tilt. I did it one time. I don't know how I did it. I tilted it really good. I did it to the point where it actually tilted and it popped, and it gave me a free ball.
Huh. Oh yeah.
I don't know how I did that one.
Yeah,
that was pretty hilarious.
It is a pretty fun game. Like that would be such a cool thing to have too. A pinball, a real one.
You know, I was actually
just a huge game.
I was looking into, because once again, Arcade 1-Up is doing them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
I mean, yeah. Granted, they're a little bit smaller, but once again, it's so close to what an actual pinball game is like that. If I could find one I like, I would definitely spend the money to get it. But I mean, they're a little bit pricey compared to the regular arcade games, because our regular arcade games are, you know, the in between $200 to $300 typically. Their pinball games usually are $400 to $600, sometimes even more. So they are pricey, but
yeah, that's a lot for basically an ornament for your house.
Yeah, basically. I mean, if you're going to play it a lot, I mean, I would probably play it a lot. If I got one that I really liked, I would play it a lot. So. Yeah, just go on a live stream. Just play pinball.
Camera set up, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, that's something I got to do one of these days. I do have to get a camera. It's going to happen eventually.
Oh, they're not much. Like, get a webcam.
Well, it's just one of those things. I'm still dealing with a lot of stuff, trying to get everything finalized for the house and blah, blah, blah. Sorting through all these old toys, trying to get them all organized. So eventually they're going to go up for sale. that's one of the things I'm working towards. So
I just got a $40 one. I think it might have been less. It supposedly is 10K or 1080 or whatever.
nice.
It's like that's good. Or full. It says full HD. It's good enough.
Well,
For
that's
now,
like
especially.
that's just like the mics. I mean, you could spend a lot of money on a mic too.
Yeah,
But
mic's
sometimes,
a little bit more pricey. And that's what I view as more the expensive item.
yeah, this one I'm using, I think it's maybe a $45 mic, if even.
See, now I get issues because I have like kind of a semi more expensive. It was $100 when I got it, but it's like $85 now. But because it's so sensitive, like, you know, I either got to be really close or, you know, kind of annoying, but hopefully it's all right.
No, it sounds good. Sounds good. I can't imagine spending like hundreds of dollars on one. I mean, I guess if you have the money and you can invest it, that's fine. But you know, us poor cheapskates, we don't have that kind of money.
Now, nope.
So, anything new been going on with you, like as far as your movies? Because I know you were saying something about
I gotta start Godfather Part 3, but I just still don't know if I want to do Part 3 or Coda. Most people think Coda's slightly better, but not by much, and there's not much difference. But the time difference between the two movies is quite large. So I'm like, well, now I want to know what the heck happened in the original one.
And that's one of the things about some of those movies, though. I mean, I don't know. Like me personally, when I go to watch some of those movies, I have to watch them in order.
Right.
I have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm thinking theatrical first.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's always certain movies that you technically can't watch in order. Like if you take like Star Wars, for example, if you were born early enough, you're never going to really watch them in complete order since sequels come out later, or prequels rather.
Well,
the prequels
I never considered the prequels a starting point. I just don't. It should, to me. I mean, yeah, it can work, but it totally ruins like the surprises as far as I'm concerned.
I know, I like, especially with the whole Vader and like thing in Revenge.
Yes,
I love that scene. I thought that was great. I mean, yeah, you know, a little bit cheesy at the end where but I mean, everything leading up to that was damn good.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things where I think it's perfect because of how just on the edge it is. It's believable, but at the same time it's also corny, and that's, I think, is honestly a strangely good sign of a good acting, is that it can either be portrayed as corny or real. I think it's both. Just the same can be said with Anakin's performance. Everybody says it's corny, but you know, when you're a kid and you're watching it doesn't look corny and you perceive it as real. And I still see it that way. I could see it both ways. You know, I can see, yeah, it's kind of funny, but I still choose to see it real because I prefer to, you know.
Well, I think a lot of people just had a big problem with him. Number one, with the way he looks.
You think
I
so?
mean,
Just the
yeah, I don't know, because I know the first time when I went to go see the prequels, I was a little bit off put by Attack of the Clones with him, with Christian Hayden, because he kind of had that boy band vibe to me.
I was like, when I saw him, I'm like, I like his hair. I thought it was like kind of like Arnold-esque, you know. I thought he looked cool. So honestly, I never had an issue with the way he looked. I was more upset I didn't get to see him in more things, you know. I hated that. I was like, why is that star stigma? You know, I thought he was a good actor, or at least fun to watch, you know.
I think that's why a lot of actors get very choosy about which roles they take, especially with an established franchise with something like that, you know, or Star Trek, because they're worried about they're going to get pigeonholed into it.
Yep.
But if you're a good enough actor, you can actually find other work. You can actually branch out. I mean, Harrison Ford, I mean, granted, he didn't get his start in Star Wars, but Star Wars put his name out there.
Yeah.
More so than anything else he did earlier.
That's a good one too. The old Star Wars games. Now,
Yeah.
those were games that I never got like past any levels. I remember that. I was like, my sister's friend had it, and for some think it was Super Nintendo. I didn't have one of those, so I could never ever, try it myself really and get good at it. But every time I tried, I just remember a black screen, some like white platforms you had to jump to, and I could never get to them. It was specifically Return of the Jedi. I think that they had. Maybe it was original.
Yeah, well, they had the mold. What was that? They were talking about on one of the previous panels, and they were talking about the wireframing for those games.
Oh,
like the early Star Wars games, they had like that wireframe look to them, the green wireframe.
yeah, I'd have to look real quick. Because I'm pretty sure she had Super Nintendo.
But hey, what's going on, everybody in the chat? Really do appreciate it. I don't know if I'm going to take a whole 2 hours on today's stream. When Clyde passed, one of the things I had to do is I had to dig a hole and put him out in the pet cemetery. And yeah, I really twisted my back up doing that somehow.
Oh.
I was walking around like an 80-year-old man most of last night and today. Freaking sucks.
I hope you get better.
I'm sure I will. I mean, I'm just, it stinks, man. Trying to get up and do something, even the simple everyday stuff like feeding the hungry guinea pigs.
Yeah. No, I see this picture and yeah, it's the Return of the Jedi one. That's the one they had.
Okay.
I want to see gameplay footage of that. I'm just gonna have to look into that, but.
Well, we were talking about when I was talking about those 1-up arcades, they actually did one. It's Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi all in one cabinet.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that would be kind of cool to have. And
I'm not sure if I remember or not, but I think the controller actually looks like a TIE fighter or like an X-wing like type of like a steering control. I think that was on it. It's been a while since I seen it because I actually seen it when I was still up north when I took a TV time out from cleaning the house to just go look at the stores and see what was going on. And yeah, I'd seen it in a GameStop. And I was like, damn, that thing looks cool. As much as I hate Disney, I mean, that thing looked pretty badass.
Yeah.
Like if I had the money, I might have been tempted, but I think my hatred for Disney might have won out.
Well, it's those old games that have a little bit of the spirit of the original. I feel like in it, like you see them and you're like, wow, that's how they I don't know. It's just so cool to see how they were doing Star Wars back then. I was even fascinated back then. I was too young to be able to play the game, and I remember specifically loving it. I just wanted because that picture, that game picture, that cover art, it just enamors you. I remember looking at that stuff. It just looks so cool. The gameplay was just too hard for me. Could never play it.
GameStop, please stop. GameStop used to really be good back in the day, and they just kind of went downhill. Disney is invalid. I feel the same way. Honestly, I do. And it kills me when I see older games like that. They're showing off the old stuff that I like from my childhood, and I feel off-put of spending money on it because I feel like I'm giving Disney money, and I just hate them that much. I really do despise them. Yeah.
I like to think I don't give them money, but I'm sure some of the new films I buy, they're somehow, they got their hands in it somewhere. I'm sure with a lot of them. With any of those, because there's a few new movies I keep my eye out for, like that. The Little Things recently, I saw that one that was pretty good. I bet you they have their hand in that somehow,
They got their hands in a lot of different freaking places now. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I mean, it used to be a thing where companies couldn't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There had to be some kind of separation, especially if you're talking about an older franchise like before they took over. Usually there was still a separation, and it would wind up going to the company that actually produced the game, with maybe some residuals going to the company that owns the rights to it. But yeah, the lion's share would actually go to the company that was producing the game itself. And that's all been flipped.
Yeah, this world's gone to,
It's a shame, but I think that's I think there's companies out there like One Up that are trying to bring some of that stuff back, or at least bring it back in some format. You know what I mean? So people that want to remember those games, want to enjoy those games again, they have the opportunity, or maybe even somebody new that would like to say, "Hey, I wonder what those arcade games were like when my dad was a kid," or it gives them the opportunity. I think that's actually
like
a really good.
It's a legitimate.
It's just a shame that there's not
business too.
He's out there doing it.
Right. Yeah, it's a legitimate thing they're doing. It's not some stupid scam like I was talking about earlier. Yeah. This. I just can't believe what some people do out there. What some of the things that we hear. It's just getting ridiculous out there. But yeah,
it is.
One-up cabinets
it's a shame. It really is a shame, but
one of the only good things to come out of this decade.
I know. And you know what? Here's the thing, though. I mean, when they started off, they were just doing the cabinets, and then some of the people that really enjoyed the cabinets were saying, "Well, I wish they were a little bit taller." So obviously, they have them set at a certain price point because of the size and everything. That's how they set them at the price point. So they started creating those low riser platforms. So yeah, you spend a little bit more money, but you could buy a riser and then you could make your machine a little bit taller. Still not as tall as like an official cabinet, but a lot closer. Then they started offering stools for the games too, for the people who'd like to just sit down there and play the game and wanted a stool to match their arcade cabinet. I mean, shit like that is paying attention to detail and giving the people that are actually enjoying the product something that they will enjoy. Yeah, I think we need more companies doing that, especially going back and paying attention to the old stuff, what works, and then take it from there. I roast Disney now in the comments on their YouTube channel.
I don't disagree with that in the slightest.
The only thing I like about Disney is Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, I've heard it's a good game. It's just it's one of those games. If I know I'm giving them money, it ain't gonna happen.
I know. Yeah, that game really does give you nostalgia for Disney stuff. But they did good at it, especially the first one. I kind of lost interest after, but I did love that story.
So basically, it's from what I've seen, it's like they take a whole bunch of different characters from across different points of Disney and everything, and they jam them into the game and like a fun
it was so fun. Like you feel like you're going across, memory lane essentially. Visiting old worlds that you always wanted to, be a part of like Peter Pan's world and fly around and stuff. And then, you go underwater, you're with Little Mermaid, and you can go there kind of like GTA style almost, where you can just travel there for that time, that kind of game. It was kind of fun, definitely it gives you super nostalgic vibes. And then it's got nice atmosphere too to the game. Fun to be in those places that you visit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about for the person getting into, because they want to be able to have a certain type of enjoyment where they feel pulled in.
Yeah, when you're just roaming around and you don't care for hours, even if you did anything, basically.
Well, you know what? Early on, Bruce Lombardo, Dick's Division. I think my Quake on Steam just upgraded it. I'm in the hospital, or else I'd be. Oh man, so sorry, Bruce. I hope you're okay, buddy. Best wishes. God damn.
Yeah, it's just not a good time. It's just not a good time in the world in general.
Michael Brent is saying a lot of the same things you said. Because it's fun and you get to be a lot of your favorite Disney characters. I like Super Smash Brothers because you're able to fight with your favorite video game characters. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you like, absolutely go for it. Me personally, I mean, pretty much, I feel like that though. I do feel like that because I was personally attacked by Disney, so I've got a personal vendetta with them.
Luckily, for me at least, I played Kingdom Hearts like at a prime age, and then way before any of this Disney crap really started to happen. I mean, obviously, I'm sure Disney's been doing crap for their entire existence. But...
Oh yeah, you know what? It's always been around to a degree because even with some of the older shows like Cinderella, I mean, they did a lot of like story bashing with that as well. But back then they were what they called Disneyfying it, meaning that they were trying to tone it down.
Right.
Now they've taken that pendulum in a completely opposite direction. They're not just toning things down; they're actually trying to hit agenda points now, which is ridiculous. It's supposed to be kids shows. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be sitting there preachy.
Yeah. Now it's all propaganda.
Oh, damn, Bruce. Oof. Best wishes, buddy. I hope you come out of it.
Yeah. Get well, Bruce. Hope you're feeling better.
It's been absolutely crazy with some of the stuff. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't even want to get into that because that's a topic for another stream. But there's been a whole lot of things attributed it with this bug that is just not good. It's like sometimes 10 times worse than what they were trying to say that this thing would do. But
really,
yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff going around associated with it. Some people that I actually know in the community have suffered some of these side effects that they're trying to claim are not really happening. So,
oh wow,
fun to play with the nephews and nieces. Yeah, that is why Disney falls. That is why you fail. Get well, Bruce. Yep, absolutely. Sarah, the main character in Kingdom Hearts. What's going to be is Super Smash Brothers, but Disney stopped them now.
Sora, yeah. The main character is Sora, and yeah, that would be really cool to see him in a Super Smash Brothers game.
Yeah, see, that was another one. My daughter played the hell out of those games.
Or Riku.
I never got into them because it was just one of those things. I was doing other stuff at the time, so. I just
Riku.
Just never picked up on them. I mean, the last crossover games that I really remember playing a little bit was when they were doing the Capcom and Marvel crossovers.
Yeah, those definitely were cool too back then. I played a little bit of those on the arcades. Now that you bring that up,
oh yeah,
those old Capcom games.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did a fairly decent transition over to consoles too. It just it never felt exactly the same as it did with the arcades.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the same thing with Street Fighter. I mean, Street Fighter transitioned fairly well over to console, but it wasn't the same as being at the arcade cabinet.
Yeah, that's the memory I was trying to unlock. That's the kind of game I would play back then. Is all those fighter games. I played Tekken. Street Fighters, and then Capcom a little bit, Mortal Kombat, but I owned one on PS, so it was like Mortal Kombat 2, I think. So I never really played too much of that, but because I had my own, so I didn't seek that. But now, man, that would be one of the funnest to me is those old arcade cabinets, the Mortal Kombat ones. Oh yeah, those would be so fun. The original one.
They were like. Back in the day when they first came out, they were like almost impossible to get on because there would be people with quarters piled up on that cabinet waiting to get a turn.
Yeah.
Like, unless you had hours to sit around and wait, you more than likely weren't going to get a chance to play. And especially because do you remember seeing the ones that had like the big screen?
No.
I remember seeing they had a few of these Mortal Kombats where it was like a big screen. Like a big projection screen in front of the game. So you had the game controls and the game controls were tied to this projection screen that behind it. So they displayed the damn game like in this big, format. It was like crazy. Uh-huh. And that thing was like always jam-packed with people. I don't remember seeing it like maybe one, maybe two places ever. It was like an oddity.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find one online or just like picture. Big screen.
And that's the problem. I mean, yeah, but you know what?
No. Like the wider screens.
Yeah, it's almost it almost seemed like a projection screen in the way it was done.
Yeah.
Because the screen was set back from the actual main part of the machine.
Yeah, they look like the racing ones.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I ever seen those. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. I remember they had those back. I think I remember seeing those for Tekken or something.
Yeah. God, those things were cool. Holy cow. It just brings back a lot of memories being able to see those things too.
Yeah, and I played a lot of Time Crisis. You know, I didn't like Resident Evil, but I played Time Crisis. Same thing, you know.
What was the other one? House on Haunted Hill or goddamn
Silent Hill.
Silent Hill. That's it. Silent Hill. That was another one. Because I remember they had one with the guns.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was another one that used to always be like filled with people to get on.
I see it. Here it is. Yeah, there's the big Mortal Kombat screen, I think. I just randomly found one.
Yeah, it looks almost like a big projection screen.
Yeah, it's like a... Well, maybe this one's just somebody made. I don't know, but it looks like what you're talking about. It's like a widescreen almost.
Yep. Yeah, I remember there was this little...
It's like you're saying, though. It's like farther back.
Yeah, there was this like arcade, and it was out in... it was in... oh, God, where was it? It was in... I think it was in Marsville, Pennsylvania, I think. It was called Borden's Arcade, and they had one of them.
Oh, sorry. What were you just talking about, though?
No, I was talking about that Mortal Kombat. That I seen it in an arcade, an actual arcade place.
No, right before that, though. I interrupted you with that.
Oh, I don't know. That thought's gone.
Yeah. What the heck were we talking about?
It's gone. It's gone.
Anybody ever trying to take your man?
Oh, what? It's gonna bug me. Oh well. Yeah.
I know.
We was talking about Time Crisis: Silent Hill.
Oh yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah, I played a little bit of those. Not very much, but like, I was also gonna say, then they had that 3D thing. You could turn around, and you're like a tank or something.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on your head.
They had another one that was like a submarine, and it actually had like a periscope that you would look through to play it. I always forget what that was called. I don't remember if that was called periscope, if that one was called submarine something, or attack submarine, but I always remember that because it had the periscope that you actually look through to play the game. So I had all the sound effects, like a doom doom of the radar pinging. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, and Battlefield had in the original Battlefield, they had submarines and stuff too that you could drive, and I always think that's kind of funny that, if you compare that to nowadays Battlefields, you can't. I mean, yeah, you can fly jets and all that stuff, but I just think it's funny that the original one has stuff that you still can't do in nowadays Battlefields. You can take submarines. How's it going, Bone?
Beachhead. Yeah, I forget. I mean, I used to like playing that one too. It was just stupid. It was silly, and it actually had some of the more early graphics. It wasn't a highly detailed game. It had a lot of that wireframing type of technology. So, God, yeah, I want to say the one that I was playing was called like Periscope, because they had a few different games that were very similar like that, and they had a tank one the same way. Where you were looking through the air. So,
I always saw the tank one.
Yeah, see, once one of those companies came up with an idea like that, everybody else was copying it.
Yeah, that was the one I wish more people copied. That was pretty cool to me, I mean, it was just wasn't enough. You're like, oh, I wish it was more. But I like the effort.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. I mean, that stuff, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I just don't understand why they can't stop to make fun games like that anymore. I mean, I've seen a few games here and there that I've enjoyed, but I've never found a game other than maybe the GTA San Andreas. I haven't found like a game more recently that I really ever felt had that feeling like this is a game that I could play for countless hours, like nonstop.
Did you try 4?
Did I try 4?
Yeah, GTA 4.
Yeah, Liberty City. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that one. Probably, I think I played the most hours on that one.
I think I like the add-on ones, the additions,
Yeah.
the expansions. I think I like them more. Like
Gay
the Lost
Tony
and the
had
Damned, the Gay
some of
Tony,
the best music.
the ballad
I
of Gay
swear to
Tony.
God, yeah,
Yeah.
I love the music in that one.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed those a lot more.
Yeah,
But they were
they
so
brought a lot.
short. But they were
Yeah.
so short, though. I mean, that was the problem.
Yeah, but I always thought it was so cool how you had like different cars in those. You'd like you'd have to like load it up a little bit differently. I remember or something. I'm not sure. Or once you just had it.
Yeah, well, you could do it one of two ways. You could like download it, or you could just go out and buy the disc.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happened is,
I couldn't.
I had a problem. Yeah, I had a problem with the download.
Yeah.
So we just wound up just buying the disc instead, and I had no issues then.
Okay. Yeah, but I think I had the Xbox, and I don't think they had that option because you had to have live or something. I can't remember, but I remember I finally got it working. But yeah, I always loved that. I was just they had those little things they brought to it. Just was enough for me. It was just enough. I'm like, oh, this is so fun. I love how they did this.
Archer Jacob Barton, greetings and welcome. Good evening on this Monday. Yes. So, Michael Brent, Disney loves making with villains like Prince Hans, Frozen, Judge Doom, Bellwether, Zootopia, Tarbo, Wreck-It Ralph, Ernesto, Coco, and Syndrome, Mr. Incredible. And Bone, D2 Resurrected is going to be good. I'm playing the beta. Doom 2? I'm assuming.
D2.
I'm assuming he means Doom 2.
I don't know. D2. Oh, Diablo 2.
Oh, Diablo 2. Holy crap. I forgot all about that game.
Yeah, I always forget that it goes that they kind of like have that as the acronym.
God, I played 3. I never had a chance to play 1 or 2, but I did play 3. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, and dungeon crawler type of game. But yeah, I've never played the first or second one, so
that was a game I was not ready for,
Luffy is God. What's going on? For me, it's Final Fantasy series, Zelda games, and Street Fighter Online. And later years, Modern Warfare and Battlefront. The favorite fighting game is Capcom versus Marvel. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun. That was a fun game.
I saw a box of Diablo, and I thought it was so cool. And I looked at the back, and it was like, I don't think I like this. I remember I played it one day, and I just didn't know what I was doing. So it was one of those games I always wanted to like, but never really got.
Yeah, like I said, those games are decent. I mean, if you can get into them, because I'd played a game prior to playing Diablo. That was another dungeon crawler game, and it was called Torchlight.
Yeah.
So I kind of got the feel of vaguely of what Diablo would be like. So I played that first, and then when I seen Diablo 3 was coming out, that's when I went and picked it up. I said, okay, and I went through that game a couple times, just trying to try the different characters. One of the games I always wanted to play, and I never had a chance, and I could kick myself for not buying it years ago when they had the war box sets for them, was the old Warcraft games.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the old World of Warcraft. Before it was World of Warcraft, it was just Warcraft.
Oh.
And they were like a top-down, like RTS style playing game.
Okay.
So I always wanted to try them, and I never got them, and I'm like so pissed off about it. I mean, granted, they have a re-release of one of them now, but it's part
it's
3.
not the same.
Yeah.
Not
Plus,
the same as the box.
yeah. Plus, the way Activision is, no, that's why I quit playing WoW in 2019 because of the way they are. And there's another game I played that for a great number of years. I mean, how many games do you know that you could wind up playing for like 13 years?
Pretty much 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5. Depends. It'd take me. Yeah, the list would keep growing as I think about it, but not very many.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there were so few games that I would play for that amount of time. Like usually, even like games like GTA San Andreas, I would play it for months upon months, nonstop. And then one day I would just like, I don't feel like playing it. And then I would start playing something else.
Just random. I remember that too.
I remember when I picked up the Bounty Hunter game with Jango Fett. I was playing that nonstop for probably like, I don't know, good 3 or 4 months. And then one day I just got tired of playing it over and over again, and I went to something else.
Yeah, I don't feel like I do that anymore. Like, in a weird way, you know? Like, obviously I just play Insurgency mostly, but...
Yeah, I think the only other game that I played for a good number of years is I was playing Warhammer 40,000. Another one of the, RTS games.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the hell out of that. I thought it was a lot of fun. They had it available on Steam, and I had a friend of mine who actually, he signed me up for Steam, and he gave me the game. He's like, here you go. And I was like, oh, damn, you didn't need to do that. So I got a chance to play that again.
I've never seen this. And there was Ace Combat too. That was always fun. I played that for a good couple of hours at least.
Oh God, I remember some of the early games. This is going back like the early PC games, like the ones that were like terrible, graphically wise by today's standards. And they had a couple of them that were based off that. Oh God, who was in that film? Shall we play a game?
Jigsaw.
No. Prior to that, it was the one where they were going to launch War Games.
I don't think I've seen that movie.
Yeah, it is basically he was playing a game, but the computer was actually getting ready to launch real missiles.
I've seen stuff on it. Yeah, I remember.
Was that Matthew Broderick?
It was Matthew Broderick. I think. Yeah, I think you're right. So,
yeah, they wound up having a slew of games that came out just like Missile Command and all. It was basically the same thing. But and this time you're trying to defend against all these nuclear missiles that were coming at you.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous. It was super silly. It was super easy, but it was fun. They spent countless hours playing games like that too. Oh my God, I actually. My mother still kept a lot of those damn things. They're all on those big 5-inch floppies.
Yep.
Floppy disks. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I remember those old floppies. Had Doom and stuff on floppy, Heretic.
And you always had to be careful how you put the floppies because you could get them magnetized and erase them.
Yep. I surprisingly never really had that kind of stuff happen to me.
It has been known to happen to people.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my mother told me when she worked, because she used to be a word processor, she said she would actually make copies of some of the games at work on her, spare time, because they had really good computers, working for the state. So she said a couple of them, somehow they got magnetized and they just erased everything. So she'd have to go back in the next day on her time off and copy a bunch of new games, and she was bringing home all kinds of weird shit. She was bringing home these strip poker games. They were so cheesy graphically, but they were funny as hell.
Right? Yeah. They had a lot of weird stuff back then. Those old games.
Yeah,
that they were creative and different. They were always different.
Yep. Played Doom on a floppy disk. Yep. My brother did too. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think I found that one. I also found the original Castle Wolfenstein on a floppy disk. That was another one. That game took off like, and it
the new
did
ones
really
were pretty
well.
cool too.
Yeah, they rebooted them, and they actually, from what I understand, they did it fairly decently.
I played like one of them, but I really couldn't get into any other ones for some reason. Can't remember why.
Now, I can never remember which one came out first. I don't remember if Doom came out first or if Castle Wolfenstein came out first, because they were both very similar. In the way
The first one was Wolfenstein.
Was it Wolfenstein?
Yeah. Yeah, and then Doom. And then Doom 2, and then they went, like, basically went Quake, but Doom was kind of like on... I was always on the side of Doom, you know. I didn't really like Quake, but, I mean, I liked it. But learning about, like, all that Doom lore, I feel like Quake is the rightful, real successor of Doom. I feel like that's the direction that the guy really wanted to go in, was what we see in Quake. I always find that kind of interesting because I feel like it was kind of a progression that led it to there, you know?
Holy crap. Luffy is God. I still have Warcraft 1, 2, Dune 2000, Command and Conquer 1, 2, and 3, and Civilization 1, 2, and 3. Like, you know, I had Civilization... Oh God, what was it? Civilization 4 or something like that. Those are all were really good games, and some of them are like Civilization was still out. I thought.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think they still have one.
Bone says I still have Quake 2 on my laptop.
Yeah. Wow.
And you know what? That's another thing, though. You get some of these companies that go back and they reboot some of these older franchises. Maybe they clean them up a little bit. Maybe they fix some of the audio problems, or if there's any glitches, and then they re-release them. And you know that's kind of like paying it forward for the gaming industry when you can go back and kind of bring back those old favorites, so new people can enjoy not only what they were and the gameplay that they were given at the time, but they could appreciate some of the newer stuff that's actually done correctly.
Right. And
they could appreciate it even more.
Right. See it in a new way that they couldn't even back then.
Mm-hmm.
They are supposed to be doing that with the Blade Runner game too, the old Blade Runner game.
God, there were some of those games. You know which one I guarantee they're never going to reboot?
What?
You're never going to see E.T. get rebooted.
E.T.
Oh God, what was that? That was on Atari? That was the one that they threw a whole bunch of copies of it in a landfill somewhere out in like New Mexico or something.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing something about that. What was up with that game?
It was terrible. It was absolutely horrendous. It was a horrible game.
Just graphically crap.
No, the whole gameplay, everything about it was terrible.
Oh. Yikes. Yeah.
But in some of the old games that I found over my father's house, that was one of the ones that was there in the box and everything. I was like, oh my God. I might keep that just for the giggle factor.
I know. That is so cool. I wish I had one. I like that little trope about it. It's just buried in the earth somewhere.
Yeah, there was a bunch of those old games. Like I hadn't really gone through them yet to see everything that was there, but he had a ton of those older games, and some of them were movies. Like I don't remember if he had the Blade Runner there. He might have.
It was a '97 game, so I played it when I was a kid, and I didn't know what it was. It was kind of like one of those games where there's no pressure. You just like run around and click on things and have to figure out what the heck the crime is. I knew that much as a kid.
Okay, yeah. I remember that one.
And then, I grew up, came around, saw Blade Runner, didn't care about Blade Runner. Then I came back after watching YouTube videos and, wanting to get interested in Blade Runner, fell in love with Blade Runner, remembered that old game, and then found out that was actually a Blade Runner game that I was playing. And that was kind of mind-blowing to me. I'm like, whoa, I was playing a Blade Runner game, and I liked it when I was a kid. It was one of the only games that I was progressing at, and then I did finally hit a wall. But it was fun.
You know what? Blade Runner was one of those movies when I seen it, like I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like
That
it
game
was
was
so
cool.
much. Well, the movie itself too. I mean, the movie was just so much different than a lot of the other stuff that was out at the time. Yeah, it was sci-fi. Yeah, it
That'd
was
be crazy to
fantasy,
see
but
back
yeah, it
then.
was so much different. I mean, it was amazing. I watched the sequel to it. Wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it really wasn't that good either.
When did you watch that? Just recently?
Yeah, it was fairly recently. Like when I was upstate cleaning the old man's house out. I was getting really bored at night when I sat at my aunt and uncle's house, and I picked up a few DVDs that I caught really cheap, and I watched it, and I was like,
Well, real quick, just the things that make me like have a hard time not liking it is it's got good CGI, and I'm a sucker for Ryan Gosling. So it's like hard for me to complain. It's like, I don't know, they got a good effective use of CGI, practical. None of it ever, to me, I was like, oh man, they could have done that better. You know, I always felt like it was top tier. So, especially for nowadays. So that's one of, it's like, to me, I thought they were showing like the ultimate respect, but I've definitely heard, I feel like more often than not, people are saying that the reboot is, just like you said, it's surprisingly not as bad as they thought, but there's things that they have issues with. Usually I feel like the issues they have are that the world doesn't feel as connected, kind of like the prequels and OG Star Wars.
yeah.
But I'm used to that kind of disconnectivity and seeing how time can progress, especially for the prequels and OG. Like, to me, that whole thing makes sense. I didn't like to see that. Like, I wanted to see a more clean transition, but it made sense still to me. You know, I never had an actual issue with that. I just wanted to see more. So I don't feel like that. Like, I always, when I see Blade Runner 2049, I see, no, that makes sense. I can see that is how the world would progress. It seems logical to me. So I don't know.
I mean, there was definitely some elements in it that I thought were good, but yeah, there was a few things that just felt, I don't know, they just felt a little off. I mean, what's up, Jens?
There are moments that feel off for me too.
It's kind of like well, it originally started with Mad Max, and then it was the Road Warrior, and then it was Beyond Thunderdome. And there's something about Beyond Thunderdome, not to say it was a bad movie. I enjoyed it, but it didn't feel as solid as the first two. Something just, I don't know, it just felt just a little off.
Okay. I was going to say that there's, for me, the parts that are really off is when he runs through the wall. You remember this when like he's chasing Harrison Ford to try and help to stop him from going to the car? It's about missiles about to hit. He runs through the wall. It's like a marble wall. It's like, I don't care how strong of a replicant you are. No replicant, no physical flesh is gonna just bust through that wall. You know, I felt like that was like a little weird. That was like a little overpowered. I'm still a little confused about that one. Things like that. There's a couple times, and then in the beginning, Dave Bautista's character, he's pushing his head through a wall, but he has to slam it several times before they go through. It just, that does not make sense.
Yeah, I think they kind of stretched the imagination a little bit and the suspension of disbelief just slightly with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I think some of the things kind of like played out a little bit better in Blade Runner because he actually took a lot of damage from doing that stuff too. So
in the original?
Yeah, he did take damage for doing it. It wasn't
every
like,
time he got damaged. Yeah, he took the pipe to the head, and he even damaged himself probably by shoving his head through the wall, which is again one of those scenes that I feel like is overlooked because I remember rewatching that movie and thinking, what the heck? Why was he shoving his head through the wall? Can anybody answer that? There's a door right next to him.
Dramatic effect. That's all it was. Awesome one. What's going on?
Well,
Space Quest on hard floppy. Nice.
I think he was saying he's making himself a trophy. He's like, here I am. A little trophy on your wall. You gonna
Yeah,
get
you
me,
know what?
Deckard?
That is a very good possibility. I mean,
He's taunting him again.
he knew his time was limited too.
Yeah.
So he knew he was going to die. So
I just think that's so interesting. It's like, whoa, once I realized that that's what I thought he was doing, I'm like, that is so cool. He made himself a trophy into a trophy just to taunt him. Like, it's such a subtle thing that, again, it really confuses you. And I think that's what he's doing. But until you find that thought, it's like, oh, what the hell is he doing? Makes no sense. There's a door right next to you, you know? That one just, it kind of baffled me for a while. But then you think about it and it makes thematic sense, you know?
there was definitely a lot of moments in that film that had like a lot of undercurrents to it that you might not pick up on right away too.
Right.
So, I mean, even the the police inspector, like some of the things he's doing, it's very subtle what he's doing, and then if you're not really paying attention, you just think that okay, this doesn't make much sense. But he's making subtle hints about life in general, or about the replicants, or about
Right.
About Decker himself.
See, that's stuff that I don't think I've even figured out yet. You're right. He's always been like an anomaly to me. I always love the pistol when he shoots at Roy and you see an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
That was always so cool to me. I'm like, wow, that must be some powerful ammo. I know it's just like dramatic effect, like you're saying, but like that effect just felt real to me. Like that was a futuristic shot,
Yeah, I tell you what, there was a company that was actually making a replica of that gun, an actual working firing replica of that gun.
Oh wow!
It came in a few different calibers, but holy shit, did that thing look cool? I can't afford it, but it looks neat.
Well, would they make it a revolver?
I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken.
Because it's a revolver on the bottom, and then there's like a bolt on top. It really doesn't make sense, but it looks cool.
Yeah, I forget exactly. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it.
But the revolver part of it should work, so that would make sense. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that thing would probably cost a fortune. The replica itself of it costs a lot.
Yeah. Let's see, Blade Runner gun model.
I forget what it's called. It's got a name.
Water gun Tagaki type M2019. Oh, Jesus, that was a big thunderclap.
That was real?
Yeah, that was lightning.
Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy. Is it storming over there?
Oh, it's always storming. It's Florida. But I seen it somewhere. Like somebody was saying that they had it. Like I think one of them actually said that it was a revolver, and then it had like the undercarriage, or was it undercarriage, or was it the top half? It was one of them had like a big round, like whether it was a shotgun or something else. But it was a big round that was in it.
Oh, awesome! When we're talking about the Blade Runner pistol. Yeah, that's cool though. That would be cool.
Yeah, I forget where I seen it exactly, and I would have to take time to actually go look for it again. But it was a firing model. It was like it was expensive. It looked badass though. I mean, it looked just like his gun.
I think that's so cool that his gun is actually a revolver. I mean, that's how I look at it. But it doesn't look like one at all. But I like that it actually is.
The upside down gun. Yeah, it was like a mini hand cannon, yep. And it had to be if the replicants were even as close to being as tough as they show, like especially Roy, he would need something with a huge round in order to be able to take him down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's because Jen Peters said he thought Blade Runner 2 was boring, but I I find that one more entertaining, at least, you know, when it comes to like pacing and action than the first one. I mean, like, it's kind of hard for me to, I mean, the first Blade Runner, I love it, but it's a boring movie. You gotta be willing to watch a boring movie, you know? That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not, I mean, that's a problem with a lot of those earlier movies. I mean, if you're just not into it, but you know what? It doesn't even have to be an older movie. It could be a newer movie. If you're not into it, it's going to be boring to you, and
Right.
that's going to be the same with almost any film. I don't care how much action it is. You could have an action-packed film, and certain ones, if I'm not interested in the context of the film, I am just not going to be interested in it at all, and I'm going to think it's boring. I mean,
Right.
you know, it's like Joker. I mean, I thought Joker was a decent movie, but I mean, overall, I was kind of bored with it. Like, it was, I don't know.
I kind of was too. I mean, I liked the visuals and everything, so I was like entertained enough because I was enjoying a lot of that. But overall, I kind of agree with you. The only parts I did like were the little bits of action, really. But I like how loud it was. That there was parts obviously I liked, but I kind of am on your side with that. It was kind of a boring movie. Well, it's not bad, but
It was more of a mental thriller,
yeah,
so to speak. So, I mean, it's not to say I don't like movies like that. I do. That there's a lot of them that I do. I mean, I like some of the old like Alfred Hitchcock stuff, and a lot of that was, you know, like they were thrillers.
And I think for me, honestly, I've said this before, because I was watching the show Get Shorty, which I feel like does a lot of the things that they do in Joker. I was kind of just so used to that kind of stuff that it didn't at all take me by surprise. So I went into that realizing that too. I was like, this isn't shocking me like it should because I'm so used to this stuff. In my opinion, I think they did it better in the show. So I liked the movie, but I was like, yeah, I just came into that movie with everything. Everything was against Joker in a way. But I still liked it as much as I could have. And, you know, there's like not even like a single really negative thing. It just wasn't as good as it could have been had I not seen other stuff, basically. Because I was, you know, and I think you're saying that too, because you're saying you grew up with other stuff and it kind of just made this movie not really sync as well for us, you know?
Yeah, and you know, also when I understand that Joker was a build up to the joke. Yeah, I do get that, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying it was horrible, but when I watch a movie, I want to see a movie that I'm going to be completely enthralled with, something I'm going to want to watch over and over again. And if it fails to hit that mark with me, I don't find it as enjoyable. I mean, there's quite a few of those older movies, and there's a few newer ones too. I could watch those things over and over again. I could watch them back to back. I mean, one of the last ones that I seen recently that I enjoyed so much that I could watch it multiple times was Godzilla versus Kong. I enjoyed the holy shit out of that. I liked it. Could I have done with a little bit less of the human parts in there? Yeah, sure. You know, but it was the monsters, you know, and what they were doing that actually kept me enthralled with it, and I wanted to watch it quite a few times. And when they took it off HBO, I was pissed. I mean, they just recently brought it back again, but still, I mean, even stuff with like the Suicide Squad, I thought it was a campy, just shoot 'em up type film. It felt very Guardians of the Galaxy ish to me. So for that reason alone, for the action stuff in it, I liked it for that. Now some of the story plots were very weak in it. I can give anybody that. Like me and Lethal Lightning had a discussion about that, and he hated what they did to Starro, and I completely understand, you know, why he's pissed off about it. But overall, I thought the movie was enjoyable for what it was. You know, it was just a campy, you know, comic book movie.
Yeah, I think I would like it if I watched it, but it's like you said, like I know that's how I'm going to enjoy it as much as like you just described, and I don't have a necessity to watch those kinds of movies anymore. I'm obviously, you know, more interested in those huge heavy hitters now. So I think I would like it. I'd be entertained. I watched a lot of reviews on it, or at least a couple of them, and I was actually surprised. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't think it would do that good, but I think that movie would be pretty fun to watch. is how I looked at it. Not like, well, Guardians, yeah, it's like that too, but it seemed entertaining for sure.
Yeah, well, when Guardians first came out, I enjoyed the holy hell out. And here's the thing with Guardians, and I've said this one over and over again. What's going on, Jens? I said this over and over again about that is, you know what? They destroyed a lot of the canon, like the early canon with that one. They weren't really the original Guardians at all. But they did it in a way that it was still enjoyable, even though that they messed a lot of stuff up, and it could have been a lot better if they would have went a little bit more with the comic book storyline or accuracy with how the characters looked. But overall, it was still fun to watch. That I watched that thing a number of times, enjoyed the holy hell out of it for what it was. It was like a retelling, but they didn't shit on the characters too badly, especially like Rocket and Groot, which are the main reason I enjoy it as much as I did. Like Peter Quill is like, you know, don't get me wrong, he's a funny character and everything like that, but he's kind of almost, you know, he's the comedy in that movie. So, but I don't know. I mean, there's certain movies that just do that. They bring something out that you enjoy enough that you can watch it a bunch of times. And I understand what you're saying, Awesome One. Yeah, sometimes you got to wait, you know, to watch a movie again. But there's certain movies that I enjoy them so much that I want to watch them a few times because I'm thinking, did I miss something in here? And then you get to that point where you start analyzing, like, what's hidden in the film? Is there anything I'm missing? I mean, I did that with the Empire Strikes Back, especially after reading some of the EU novels and reading some of the stuff that was in there. And like, you know, I was like, wait a minute. I was reading the EU and it said something about Boba Fett destroying an IG-88 in Cloud City. And I'm like, really? And it's like he slumped up against the wall and he's all white after getting hit with an ion blaster. And I was like, I think I remember seeing an IG-88. So I went back and watched Empire again. Sure enough, there's an IG-88 slumped over in that freaking disposal room with all the Argonauts, like ripping the droids apart.
Oh,
where
really?
he was picking up 3PO. Yeah, there's an IG-88 slumped up against the wall, all white.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. So this was like supposedly happened before Empire?
Well, it happens right
before?
prior to Han Solo and them landing on Cloud City.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I think I remember seeing that robot too. Basically, it's like the assassin droid.
Yes, yeah. Well, they were assassin droids. You know, apparently, in the EU, they explained there was 4 of them. One becomes infused with the Death Star and gets destroyed along with the first Death Star. One gets destroyed on Cloud City, and there were still 2 more versions of IG running around, and they get kind of like a shared consciousness. Mm-hmm. So,
the other iconic robot, of course, is HK-47.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, that one was so good.
From the Old Republic, yeah.
God, I just remember like laughing so hard to how dark that robot got.
Well, that's why every once in a while when I do the guinea pigs, and I'll include Meatbag. It's a throwback to him. All right, Jens, you wanted to say something about Blade Runner?
Yeah, sorry, man. Okay, so that, yeah. I said it was a good film. I said it was a bit boring, but I didn't say it was crap. But it is a bit slow film. Mm-hmm. It's one of them like as you say, dramas, sort of slow paced, bit like that Birdman, where there's like a 30-second shot of the hallway. Yeah, you know Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, like it's a good film and that, but there's bits that drag on. And Ryan Gosling and all, he might have made it more boring because his facial expressions are like about 3: happy, sad, and confused. And so, yeah.
Oh, he's in that too. You're talking about I got you.
Is it Ryan Gosling? Who's in the Blade Runner 2?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about a Birdman for a second.
No, yeah. No, but that Birdman, right? My mate, he's a bit deaf in that, right? And so he used to watch loads of Kung Fu movies and that with me, probably because it had subtitles and that. and he was well into kung fu movies, right? But he never watched anything other than like with subtitles. But then he got a hearing aid. He started watching other films and that. But I told him, I said, don't watch that because you'll Birdman. I said, because you'll hate it because like he can't follow scripts all that good. He's one of them people. No, right? He's one of them people who about like half hour into the film, he'll go down and make himself a cup of tea and some toast and won't pause the film because you know it's a boring bit. So he's hoping when he comes back and like, no, I don't really hang around with him much nowadays, but that's another reason. But well, there's another reason for that. But yeah, and then he comes and he's a bit confused. And I said, don't watch that because you'll fucking like get bored of it, and then you won't be able to like follow much of the storyline. Which really, the storyline to Birdman is just Michael Keaton hearing voices telling him he should be fucking Birdman again. But it's more soul than that when you watch the film. So I said, don't watch it, mate. And like, yeah, because like there's, as I say, I was bored of it because it was like maybe you could have gone for about 10 seconds at the most, but there's about 30 seconds, maybe to a minute of just this shot of a hallway, and then Michael Keaton comes walking down it saying something. But yeah, right. I was just saying though, yeah, but Tommy will tell you, I'm into my action films. If it ain't like John Wick, fucking action going on, maybe a bit of talking about his puppy dying, then action going on. I'm like, yeah, it's a bit boring. But
see, even though I like action films, but if it's just pure action and that's all it is, I will actually get bored with it. I like a little substance to the movie because well that's pussy talk, Tommy, but it's your channel. So I know it's your channel, so I shouldn't be saying that. But Hardcore Henry, have you seen that film? Where it's like that is action all the way.
That's a good one though.
Yeah, I like that.
See, they got really good. They have great context around it, just making it entertaining the whole time.
But it's action all the way, though, isn't it? It's one of what. Obviously, as Tommy says, like you don't need a bit of a storyline because they did add a storyline into it as the action was going along, but it was just practically action from the start. Yeah. And I like my Bond films and all where that is like action, laser bed, and it's all like, right, let's get out of here in my suave car. Then action, saves the world, and
Move out of that seat and I'll split your lip.
So one of the things in some of the early movies, like you know, you're talking about some of the older action movies, like you're talking about like the Dirty Dozen. That one had a ton of action, that old Dirty Dozen movie, but they still made sure that they had a good plot involved in the movie as well. That's what I'm saying. It's like because if you just have like a movie where it's nothing but action and there isn't really any plot, it's kind of it's devoid of fun. Like do you remember the one with Dolph Lundgren, Red Scorpion? It was a fun action movie if that's all you want is just action, but there was no real story plot, and it was just him shooting. No, it was him shooting.
No, Tommy, I'll have to disagree with you. There was a storyline, but it was a very weak storyline of him getting tired of fighting for the Russians and then fighting for the Taliban or the Afghanistans. But like, I don't mind as long as the action is good. But
it's about the bullet getting from point A to point B.
Yeah, see, because like there's films you can appreciate with good dialogue and that. And I can appreciate them films, but I want to say I don't like them, but I don't like them as much as just fucking crazy ass action all out, fucking balls to the wall. Just, Rambo shit.
How you doing?
I like the combination the most because, like, I'm looking at Soul Assassins. What's up, Moira? How you doing? I'm looking at Soul Assassins picture and I remember, Predator is like sci-fi, action, gun, it's got it all. Sometimes those movies are like the best because they're just so diverse, basically.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, I think that's actually a very good example, Curtis, of a movie lacking any kind of like real, you know, plot. I mean, yeah, okay, they're going into this area, they're going after these rebels or whatever, and then once it goes from that and it's just a predator killing them, there really isn't a whole lot of story plot to the rest of it. And I think that's where a lot of people say that Predator 2 is better, because Predator 2 had just a little bit more of a plot to it.
It brings more to it, which is why I've always really liked it. It again, keeping with this whole Blade Runner, it feels connected to me. You know, it definitely feels like a part of the universe. And even though it didn't have Arnold, it definitely feels like we're following the same story. I love that.
Well, I think with the Predator, it was a sort of like joint sort of thing where Predator 1, people watched it like me, because it had Arnold Schwarzenegger in fighting a fucking alien and that. And then, like, when people saw it, there were people who liked the Predator and was like, oh, yeah, that's a real... Because people like aliens and that, and fucking you know, and Freddy Krueger and Jason and that, they're like, oh, yeah, any film with them in, I'll watch, sort of thing. And so, yeah, Predator 2, like you say, it was fucking good, because even though it didn't have fucking the lead star of the first one, which usually, when you do a film without the lead star, it's going to be a bit dodgy and that shit. But no, they fucking pulled it off, because it was like a new movie, but it was against the Predator, and it was that sort of way of like seeing how a sophisticated alien species who's like a warrior can like go around killing people, but is gonna like find like the match with Danny Glover. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I like how it's got all the same premises of the original, but it's just subtly different. It's actually not subtly different. It's different enough where it's kind of hard to notice.
Yeah. Well, in the book, the original Predator in the book, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's character dies of the explosion and that, or in that shit, and so probably when they're writing the second one, they knew like, oh yeah, well, Thingy was dead in that, and one of them where it's like, right, well, because the Predator and all was originally like played by Van Damme in a like it was more of a dinosaur costume and that, and Arnold, like, because he'd been working on Terminator, knew the dude who did the Terminator and Aliens, and said, oh yeah, he'll design you a real good fucking alien villain and that. Yeah, and so there's like, all right, I forget his name and that, but he's like the creator of Predator, Aliens, and Terminator. But he got on board and that, and then he sort of like, right, oh yeah, I'll design like, and then like the rest is history from there.
Yeah. I forget who is that costume designer guy. Tommy, do you know who that is?
Not offhand, no.
Well, he's that dude that did them books of aliens where the real pervy and that. It was like fucking, if aliens had been half as much as them books, it'd have been like more on a porn than a fucking space drama thriller action movie. Well, yeah.
There was a company though, a special company that did a lot of those effects. I forget. What the heck that company was called. Made all those costumes for the monsters.
Yeah. Well, forget it. I'll getting back onto the like realism. Come like comic book fucking crazy sort of shit. I was like watching a documentary on the Hulk and that, and the writer of the Hulk. He was the main director, and I think he wrote a few fucking episodes because he was a writer that, like, when he became the producer, he fucking made himself the director and writer and that. He was saying, like, at first, he
Winston
didn't even...
Studios, sorry. Soul Assassin, you got it. That's it. Thank you.
What's up, Will Gentry?
Continue. Sorry. I always do that, and I know we're going to make you forget your thought.
No. Well, I was saying, like, the writer of, like, the Lou Ferrigno and, I forget his name, but who played Bruce Banner in that, or David Banner, because I changed it. But,
Bixby.
Bill Bixby, yeah. The writer was saying he didn't even want to go anywhere near the Hulk because he thought, oh yeah, I don't want to do a comic book fucking pile of like nonsense and that. And then his wife apparently like said, oh no, look at it, it's a bit like fucking I forget what she said it was, but he said, oh yeah, it was like a loner dude who had like the Jekyll and Hyde sort of symptom and that. And then when he sort of like realised, oh yeah, there's like two good authors and that whose works sort of being put together in the Hulk, and that he got on board. But he said, oh yeah, he tried to make it as real as possible. And obviously fucking someone turning green and fucking twice as big and that bit, obviously they had to like fucking writers liberty sort of thing on, you know, where it's like, yeah. But he tried to make it as real as possible, as in like he didn't want it to go too cartoony and comic-y book sort of style. And so yeah, you say with some films and that, where yeah, you got to have that sort of sense of realism where you got to have your plot line there, but then you've got to have some good action scenes where it's a bit more your comic book where it can go crazy. That's why I love the Bond films, because even though some of the plot lines seemed a bit crazy back in the day, they don't seem that crazy now. But fucking yeah, the action shit in it, and with Roger Moore, he just fucking tongue in cheeks it. He's like, yeah, right.
Oh, you know, that's one of the things that a lot of those actors used to be able to do back then. They used to be able to just take a script and run with it and do a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff. But Luffy as God says, Stan Winston created Predator.
Yep, that's it.
Right, yeah.
And Soul Assassin, I think the alien in 3 Predators film they kill was the original design for the Predator.
Right, yeah. Well, I know, like, he designed it, yeah. And when Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I said, oh, yeah, fucking get in and do a new alien for us so I can fight him in the jungle with some mates and that. He was like, oh, yeah, right, I'll design this. What do you think of this, lads? He was like, oh, yeah, that was good. Better than the dinosaur.
I'll be right back. I gotta grab a drink.
Curtis, I'm getting ready to wrap it up in a few minutes because my back is wrecked. Like seriously, I'm actually I wasn't even planning on going a full 2 hours because I'm in a lot of pain. So, but I want to give the floor to you guys, and we'll start with Jens. Jens, let everybody know what you got going on, what's coming up, and any last thoughts.
Yeah, well, I'll sort of promote my channel. It's like Jens Pedder and that. Blue Tack Baby Yoda is probably a better sort of way to get to my channel. But yeah, I've got a Twitter account which is 27A Jens Pedersen. And yeah, I do live streams and that. Like Tommy sometimes comes on and that, and some other guests and that could come on. Hopefully I'll get some more guests on and that. And like, yeah. Final thoughts is like best way to do action films is realism, but with some crazy action, and it is getting that combination right. And once you get the combination right, it's like, yeah, that's the sort of stuff I want to say.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, there is a certain combination that you need to get right to make an action film actually work. I mean, actually, it extends to any film, really. I mean, and that's one of the things that I used to be able to do so well, like years ago. Like, when you see movies like Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York, The Breakfast Club, when you see movies that were done like that, they were done in such a way that they really did become instant classics. They had a perfect formula to put those movies together, and I think so much of that has just been lost over the years. I mean, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
But Curtis,
very much so.
The floor is yours.
What is up, everyone? It's Curtis YZ. You can find me at youtube.com/Curtis YZ, KURTICEYZ, and I just doing reaction videos right now. Probably just gonna drop the rest of my gaming content on my second channel, which you can find by going to my primary channel, go into the tabs or whatever. There's links. You can find it. I'm not worried about that. That's it.
Awesome. No final thoughts on what we talked about today?
Oh, I thought we were just closing out.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. I thought that was closing out. Which I was wondering, like, why is he talking about that? Yeah. Closing thoughts. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Tommy. I just said everything you said. Like, there's some movies that they still kind of got it at least, but definitely not. And even back then, they still had a whole bunch of movies that weren't really that great too. But because there was so much less, they had to work harder. So I think that because of today's climate, we have so many more tools. We get sloppy. So we've lost it a little bit.
True.
It's
That
a shame.
Yeah, that is a good point. They rely more on CG graphics to like sell a film, and in the days when it was new and that, when like no one had seen like a dinosaur on screen,
it was exciting.
Yeah. But now now it's become sort of like, well, we see this in most films now. Now they've got to get creative. They can't just rely on big special effects and big names.
Yeah, from everything that we started this stream off, where I started off talking about Pac-Man of all games, and in case you missed why I talked about Pac-Man today, it actually had to do with a extended member of the Guinea Pig Collective who was Clyde, named after one of the ghosts from the original Pac-Man arcade game. From that to talking about Blade Runner to getting into Predator and talking about all these different action movies. I mean, these are the type of discussions that I love having, where we're talking about that old stuff and we're wondering where it went wrong. Sometimes we're just sitting there talking about it because we're reminiscing about how good that stuff was. So, I mean, these are the type of conversations that I love to have fully all the way through to the end of the program. Curtis, I can't thank you enough for stopping on, and Jens, you as well. I also cannot thank all the wonderful people that are in the chat. You all are amazing. You guys are the best chat on YouTube. Luffy is God, Will Gentry, Darius Munchausen, Soul Assassin, Bone, Moira, thank you for stopping in. Awesome One, thank you for being here as well. I know the Wake Down was here earlier. Also, Orville Nation, PJ was here earlier. Michael Brent was here. Chaos Hoy, Bruce Lombardo. So many other people. You all are amazing. Thank you so much. Every time you stop by, you make my day, because you are the reason that we get to have these discussions and have so much fun because of your input. Never let anybody say that you're not important on this platform at all. You are. So I'm going to take us out with the intro. Thank you so much, everybody has been here tonight.